Dark openings could basically be one of the most beguiling and secretive peculiarities in the universe. They are gigantic monsters regarding energy. However, at the equivalent time, they are unquestionably imperceptible to us. A dark opening weighing potentially 2 to 4 multiple times the mass of the Sun. However, because of the examination that was placed into them over the most recent few decades, we've gone from seeing positively nothing about them to getting to examine increasingly more very close. And while things have quite recently gotten more insane, Kaku recently presented that we at last got see what is inside a dark opening. This new data carries light to the subtleties the universe of science could have ignored from the beginning. Go along with us as we dig more profound into dark openings and reveal what is inside. Space is colossal, terrible. Before we get into the data of what Kaku found, we should talk about the first. Regardless of the way that most people have some thought what dark openings are, there are still a couple of holes in the legitimate data. You see, in 1916, Albert Einstein distributed his hypothesis of general relativity, which anticipated the presence of dark openings. Around then, the possibility of dark openings was absolutely hypothetical. It required an additional 50 years for the logical local area to find proof that dark openings truly exist. This occurred during the 1960s. They had been breaking down the Cygnus heavenly body when they saw an strangely striking blue star that was transmitting X-beams. This star was definitely not a stale object, however, was circumventing a monster dark something. Upon additional examination, it was observed that the X-beams were not simply moving around all alone. However, they were being sucked into the dark item they were circling. Appropriately, the name dark opening. This revelation was huge since it gave proof that dark openings really exist and they were not just an invention of Albert Einstein's wild creative mind. While that was incredible, it moreover intended that there was this incredible element in space that we earnestly had to be aware more about. So scientists all around the world set to work. This dark opening was named Cygnus X1, and it is situated inside the heavenly body Cygnus, around 6,000 light a long time from Earth. And it was no little revelation. It's multiple times more brilliant than the Sun and immensely thick, which makes it have areas of strength for a gravitational draw. The gravitational pull areas of strength for is the point that not even light can get away from it, therefore it's known as a dark opening. The possibility of a dark opening is both entrancing and startling. It's a spot of room where gravity is so solid that nothing, not even light, would be able to circumvent. Whatever gets excessively near a dark opening can be maneuvered into it, never to be seen again. However, that place of risk makes it much more vital to concentrate on all that there is to be aware of them. Was this it, or were we just starting? The response turned out to be the last option. After the disclosure of Cygnus X1, researchers began to look for other dark openings. They found that there might be close to north of 100 million dark openings in the smooth way alone. But since they're so amazingly difficult to distinguish, we actually don't have a precise number. In spite of the fact that from the looks of it, there are a few million dark openings in the smooth manner in our very, makes them significantly more system that vital to notice. So how about we break it down? The main subject with dark openings is continuously going to be gravity. Their gravitational draw is serious to the point that something that enters it packs down cosmically until it turns into a peculiarity. In less complex terms, dark openings resemble astronomical vacuum cleaners that suck everything in. Quite possibly of the most unnerving parts about the exploration that is no more into dark openings is the way that if somebody were to fall into one, they would get extended to the point that they turn into a solitary line. This cycle would happen gradually, and the individual would pass on before the last structure genuinely sets in. So let's simply say that nobody ought to be getting into one. Yet they are all over, so might we at any point be in peril? Even though the nearest dark opening to Earth is 500 to 1,000 light-years away, it's still close to the point of raising inquiries and worries. In 2021, researchers were ready to send off the main clear picture of a dark opening, explicitly the M87 dark opening. This dark opening was shot a few evenings in succession, and with every photograph, the specialists accumulated increasingly more proof about it. They had to fasten the individual photographs together to make something that filled all the holes. This way, they had the option to figure out that there are 3 layers to a dark opening. It's not only one single expanding opening of nothing. Ness, as numerous individuals accept. Things are much more convoluted than that. To try and get to the nothingness part of a dark opening, you need to endure the initial two layers. The main layer is known as the occasion skyline. While inside the first layer is the final turning point. When you pass the occasion skyline, there's no retreat and you will be sucked into the dark opening. It just deteriorates from that point onward. The subsequent layer is the photon circle, which is the region where light circles the dark opening. Any light that enters this area can be caught and cannot get away from the dark opening's gravitational draw. Eventually, we come to the third layer, which is the peculiarity. This is where all that enters the dark opening gets compacted down cosmically until it turns into a peculiarity. The peculiarity is a point in spacetime where the laws of physical science, as we probably are aware, them separate, and we just can't anticipate what occurs next. What makes all of this endlessly more terrible is the reality that each and every dark opening you study will be totally unique in relation to the last. Sure, they truly will more often than not follow the same three-layer thought. However, the way they capability can be tremendously unique. Now, if this were something different, all we would need to do is bounce back on those telescopes and simply concentrate on the issue at hand exhaustively. Yet, with dark openings, you can't actually do that. Researchers can concentrate on dark openings in a roundabout way by noticing the radiation they discharge and the gas and residue that encompasses them. Sending a test like the Explorer inside a dark opening is unthinkable on the grounds that something that enters the occasion skyline is pulled towards the peculiarity where it is packed to an immensely little point. So you can't precisely squander billions of dollars just to get an impression each time, on the grounds that the second the test draws near, it will simply smash into nothingness. Because of that obvious issue, researchers are left with no choice except for to study these objects in a two-layered manner. Even though they are three-layered peculiarities, to make matters much more troublesome, there are likewise the two issues of each and every dark opening being one of a kind and the laws of physical science as we realize them separating when we attempt to investigate the inside. Implying that the conventional strategies for logical request don't actually apply to the review of dark openings. That doesn't mean that the specialists haven't been occupied. There are bunches of various hypotheses and clarifications of dark openings, and with every one, things get to an ever-increasing extent intriguing. One of the most convincing speculations about the development of dark openings is that they are framed from fallen stars. When a star debilitates all of its fuel, it can never again deliver enough energy to check the power of gravity that is continually pulling internal. Accordingly, the star starts to break down on itself, reducing and denser as it does so. On the off chance that the star is enormous enough, this interaction can proceed until it turns into a peculiarity. To comprehend the idea of dark openings in profundity, NASA researchers turned their consideration toward the focal point of the system. M87 space experts viewed as a massive whirlpool of very hot hydrogen gas that was turning at an amazing pace of 1.2 million miles per hour. The sheer power of the turning plate of gas ought to have caused it to fly separated in all savagely. However, it didn't. Researchers found that there must be an enormous mass assembled at the focal point of the world to keep this from occurring. This gigantic article weighed as much as 2 to 3 billion suns and must be a dark opening. However, that's not by any means the only hypothesis where dark opening twist. In 1963, the New Zealand mathematician Royer utilized Einstein's conditions of gravity to give the best depiction of a turning dark opening. Kerr showed that a turning dark opening wouldn't collapse into a point as previously suspected, yet into a ring of fire or a flimsy circle. The circle would turn so quickly that radiating forces would keep it from falling. This turning plate of issue is known as the ergosphere, and it's the locale encompassing the dark opening where the laws of material science start to separate. However, the most intriguing element of Kerr's arrangement was that it anticipated the presence of an Einstein-Rosen extension, likewise called a wormhole. This hypothetical passage through spacetime interfaces two separate locales of the universe or even equal universes. The thought is that if one were to fall into a dark opening, rather than being squashed to insensibility, one would be sucked down a passage through the ring of chute and shot out a white opening in an equal universe. To grasp how this functions, we really want to take a gander at the idea of spacetime in Einstein's hypothesis. In Einstein's hypothesis, objects,